Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Hope that you all are doing well. For some of us, fall has started creeping in. I'm so thankful for that. I'm not thankful for the rain, but hey, rain's supposed to be clearing out soon. Hope that you are enjoying this season so far. We've had some special guests. The guests are going to keep rolling. I just wanted to drop in, do a little solo episode. I had an episode queued up and ready to go this week, but I decided to just talk to you all for a moment. I was thinking about some things. You know how I do. So this is not going to be a political episode. So before let me start off by saying that I'm just going to touch on that real quick because it led to my thoughts about empathy. As we all know, at the time of this recording, the SNAP benefits will not be administered, paid. I don't know how you term that, but won't be any SNAP benefits starting November 1st. And I started seeing a lot of comments about that. And, the government shutdown as a whole, just seeing comments about that made me think about empathy and sympathy. And I guess because the focus lately has been government assistance, a lot of people are voicing their opinions about needing government assistance, like who needs government assistance. And there's this stigma that people who receive government assistance are those who just don't want to work. And that's not true. There are a lot of people who receive SNAP benefits who have full-time jobs, people with part-time jobs. We have retired individuals, the elderly, who their retirement may not be enough to cover food anymore because the cost of living is going up. And if you live in certain places, you've seen this. You've seen the cost of living go up. And, it may not affect you because wherever you work may be providing raises every year with the cost of living in mind. But for those individuals who aren't in those type of jobs or who are retired, that's not the case for them. And so I think it's easy for people to become selfish is the best word I can think of, because they look at their lives and they often feel like other people's lives should be similar or close to because, they've never had to get government assistance. And let's be honest, since the pandemic, it's a lot of people who found themselves getting government assistance who never had government assistance before. And I just think that it's very careless to go around feeling like, the government shutdown doesn't affect you. What happens in people's lives don't affect you because we're not in this world by ourselves. So I think that with society as a whole, people have become more selfish. You see it every day on the road. You have people who do things while driving as if they're the only people on the road, and there's no consideration for anybody else on the road because whatever is happening in their car and in their life is the only thing that's important. And so that made me think of, how people operate with other things. They feel like their vehicle and what's going on in their vehicle, their life, is all that matters, and the things that go on around don't affect them. And so thinking about vehicles, so since we're on that topic, say you're in your car, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, your maintenance is up, your tires are inflated properly, you have gas in the car, and you think that, everything is lovely because, but we'll even say you have a brand new car and everything is pristine and tip-top shape. You're paying attention, you have no distractions, and you're feeling like you're on top of the world. But then you have this other person and they're coming from another street. You don't see them, but they're coming from another street. and everything is fine with their car. Their car may be a little older than yours, but the maintenance is up pretty good. The tires are decent. There's no wear on the tires for any safety hazard. Everything is fine with the car, but along the way, something happens. There is an unexpected obstruction in the road where this other person is. And out of nowhere, they hit this obstruction. And now it throws them off. And you're just driving along in your car like everything is fine. And because of this obstruction in their lane and their road that they're on, it brings them over into yours. And then the two of you collide. Now, you were doing everything you were supposed to do, but you may feel like the accident may have happened because they don't have the latest technology in their car. And if they had worked hard like you and got a car with better technology, they could have avoided that particular incident. But now you're affected by it. And it's no reflection on the driver or what's happened to them or how they're taking care of their car, but the reflection is just something that happens and it affects you. See a lot of people saying that the government shutdown does not affect them. You'd be surprised at how many positions of people who are furloughed right now who won't be getting a paycheck that directly affects us. But because you're so focused on the assistance part, you're feeling like, hey, I'm not in that position. I don't have to get government assistance, so it doesn't apply to me. It doesn't affect me. Everything that happens affects us in some sort of way, whether you see it or not. It may not even be right now. It may not be next week. May not even be next month. But these things have a trickling effect, and you can't feel like you're exempt. And I just started thinking about that, especially seeing some comments from some people who I know that work with people of all different walks of life, people who are engaged with different people. It's even people in education I've seen make comments like that. And I'm just like, so do you not think about your students and how that affects them? And when the students come into the classroom, how they're going to act? How that's going to trickle over into your life. But how are you so selfish about things and feeling like you have just everything you need, you have it all perfect, but anything can happen to disrupt our lives. And I think that it's very, very reckless to feel like something can happen to us to put us in that position. God forbid, something like that happens. But at the same time, there are people, elderly people, who are getting SNAP benefits, who when they retired, thought that their retirement would keep them okay and keep them sustainable with paying bills, buying groceries, getting things from the store, different things like that. But the cost of living is going up so that a lot of elderly people have had to go back to work because the retirement funds weren't enough. And it's sad that people can sit here and see what's going on in the country and feel like because their bank account is nice, they don't have to reach out for assistance from the government, that, it doesn't affect them. And then they just keep going. So I started thinking about empathy. And even in those times where people put themselves in certain positions, you still have to give them some sort of empathy and grace, because a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. Some people weren't taught certain things. Some people, and that's the other thing about empathy. It's like you have to realize that everybody doesn't think like you, and everybody, as crazy as it sounds, everybody didn't know that they had certain opportunities to do certain things because they weren't taught that. Everybody doesn't know about the resources available to them in their communities to help them better themselves. Like this information isn't readily available. And some people don't know it's out there. Like there are a lot of resources that are going to be able to help some people when the SNAP benefits aren't paid out next month. But if that word isn't gotten out and people don't know about these other resources, what's going to happen to them? And then you have some food shelters that have food. Some people depending on where they live, they don't have cars to get to these places. And if they're elderly, they may not understand how Uber works, Lyft, so I just keep those things in mind, like when I'm hearing stuff. And then, prayers to the people in Jamaica. I understand that it's frustrating for the people who are there, who are on vacation, people who have family members who are there on vacation. But I don't see much talk about the actual Jamaicans that live there. That's another thing I thought about when it comes to empathy. Is like we go to these destination islands and some of us seem to forget that people actually live there. It's their home. So it might not be ideal for you to be stuck in a place because of a storm, but eventually you'll get to go home. But what about those people who live there and their homes were destroyed? Family members were lost. Everything they own was lost. What about those people? Are we forgetting about the people who live there? I just was thinking about these things and I was like, you know what? I'm going to record a episode about this and put that out as a solo episode. And I'm talking about these things because I want more people to look at other people and think that maybe they didn't know that these opportunities were out there. Just because you knew that you could go to school and get this sort of job, or maybe get some training and get this type of employment. Maybe you knew that and that's cool, but how many people did you tell about it? Did you share that information with other people? Or were you just assuming that everybody knew that? Because I'm here to tell you, everybody doesn't know about these opportunities, these ways to pull themselves up by the bootstraps as people often want them to. Everybody doesn't know that. Just look at things and be like, do you know everything about every situation and ways to better that situation? And some of you are probably saying, well, if I don't, I'm going to research and I'm going to figure out how. But that's something that's in you. And there are a lot of people who don't have that in them because they don't know that's possible. There was a time in your life where you thought certain things weren't possible. And it might have been at a very early age where you figured out that you can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. But everybody's not on that same track. Everybody doesn't have that event or person in their life to show them or tell them that, hey, you can do better than where you are now. And some people, when they figure that out, they're trying to share that information with everybody, trying to help everybody and trying to say, hey, this is available. But then you have other people, they keep that information for themselves. And they have that attitude of, well, I figured it out. You have to figure it out for yourself. So also stop gatekeeping. If you know certain things and certain programs and certain ways to better yourself or further yourself, share them with people. We're not on this earth alone and we can't do things by ourselves. One of the terms I really dislike is self-made because, well, first of all, I don't like the term self-made because I owe everything to God. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the things that I have now, especially being in my right mind. So that's first of all. But when it comes to like self-made, somebody got you to that point. If you're an entrepreneur, guess what? The people who were spending money towards your business or your product help you get where you were. Like there's no success without somebody else. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind while these talks are going around about SNAP benefits and government assistance and the government shutdown. You know, the people who are furloughed, they aren't being thought about right now. What about those people who have to work without getting a paycheck? Imagine what stress that does. You have air traffic controllers who just now haven't received the paycheck. You don't think that's going to affect your life? If you don't fly or a frequent flyer, if you don't go anywhere, a lot of things that you need and use are flown in by airplanes. Our active military. What about those people? I mean, it's a list of people who aren't going to get paid during this government shutdown. And I want people to at least research and have some empathy, because it could be somebody that you know. They're just not telling you and having that conversation. So in closing, I'm just going to say this. Let's start caring more about each other. Let's start looking out for each other and just practice a little bit of empathy. We're all different. We all go through different things, and I'm a firm believer that we're supposed to help each other. Now, I know you can't help everybody, but to some extent, you can lend some sort of help to people, and it doesn't always have to be financial help. You can just point them in the right direction, but be willing to do so, and don't be so high and mighty and think that because you have it going on right now, the government shutdown doesn't affect you. What's happening in other people's lives don't affect you, because that's those people. But every cause has an effect. And if you're not feeling it now, you may feel it sooner than you expect. So in closing, I just want to say, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And as always, remember, keep pushing forward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.